Imagine an engine so good that hauliers would wait 2 years for a new lorry, rather than accept anything else under the cab. An engine that powered nearly 90% of British buses and the cream of British trucks. An engine fitters remembered rebuilding almost never, because it simply refused to wear out. It came from a family firm in a Manchester suburb built by perfectionists who answered to nobody. Hauliers didn't just buy it, they swore by it. The Gardner 180. And the same perfection that made it a legend would eventually destroy the company that built it. This is the story of Britain's most worshipped truck engine, and how being the best wasn't enough. In the industrial heartland of Patricroft, Manchester, the Barton Hall Engine Works operated less like a mass production factory and more like a giant watchmaker's workshop. Here, under the uncompromising leadership of brothers, Hugh and John Gardner, Gardner Sons, built diesel engines to their own standards and at their own pace. They ignored corporate pressure, choosing a philosophy of absolute precision where individual components were hand-fitted by skilled craftsmen. These power plants were shipped worldwide, earning a legendary reputation across trucks, buses, marine vessels, and generators. The physical embodiment of this obsession was the engine crankcase. While rivals relied entirely on heavy cast iron, Gardner utilised a sophisticated cast alloy crankcase for their road-going models, reducing weight while retaining immense structural strength. In 1958, this careful engineering birthed the 10.45-litre 6LX engine, a naturally aspirated power plant delivering 150 horsepower. But the next step arrived in September 1966. By making refined internal modifications and raising the rated speed, Gardner introduced the 6LXB. It produced 180 horsepower at 1,850 revolutions per minute, with a flat torque curve that set new standards for thermal efficiency. This was the defining Gardner 180, a machine born from an old-world belief that a product should outlive its makers. In the brutal margins of post-war British haulage, the Gardner 180 was less an engine and more a financial instrument. Fuel was the single heaviest cost for fleet operators, and this engine turned fuel economy into a competitive weapon. At its heart was a design of historic economy. While contemporary rivals struggled with high fuel consumption, the naturally aspirated 6LXB consumed just 0.330 pounds of fuel per brake horsepower hour. Under test conditions, this translated to a thermal efficiency of 39.73%, a figure that climbed past 40% when running just below her maximum output. Instead of chasing high horsepower, the Gardner brothers focused on low-stress delivery. The engine produced its 180 horsepower at a relaxed 1,850 revolutions per minute, but the real magic lay in its torque curve. A massive 562 pound-feet of torque arrived at just 1,000 revolutions per minute. This meant drivers could slot their trucks into top gear and stay there all day, the engine humming along in its absolute sweet spot without breaking a sweat. For operators, this meant fewer gear shifts, minimal component wear, and fuel savings that directly guaranteed business survival. Ultimately, the Gardner 180 stood as a symbol of ledger book profit rather than raw power. Between 1968 and 1973, an apprentice diesel fitter working for the North Western Road Car Company performed exactly one engine rebuild on a fleet of Gardners. That single job required nothing more than re-ringing the pistons and re-shelling the big ends. In an era when rival power plants regularly failed, the 6LXB was brutally hard to kill. On Britain's twisting A roads, hauling 24 tons at the old 30 miles per hour limit, these engines ran with effortless longevity. Even when gross vehicle weights rose to 32 tons, they absorbed the extra strain. Gardner overhauls were measured in hundreds of thousands of miles, often passing the 500,000-mile mark on basic maintenance alone. Because of this, the engines routinely outlived the vehicles around them. When a bus chassis rusted away or a lorry cab disintegrated, transport companies simply lifted the 180 out of the scrap frame, steam cleaned it, and bolted it into a brand new chassis. To the mechanics who worked on them, the logical, accessible design was proof of sensible engineering, securing a level of trust that no marketing campaign could ever buy. Throughout the 1950s, the 1960s, and the 1970s, Patricroft Power became the heartbeat of British road transport. Heavy haulage relied on a proud roll call of independent vehicle builders: Atkinson, ERF, Foden, Guy and Seddon. The heavy eight-wheelers and articulated rigs that built and fed post-war Britain did so with a Gardner hum under the cab. This dominance extended from freight yards to city streets. By the mid-1980s, industry records showed that nearly 90% of all British-built buses ran on Gardner engines. For heavier jobs, the massive 8-cylinder Gardner 240 cemented this reign, earning a reputation as the smoothest-running automotive diesel ever built. Yet the engine's true impact lay in its sensory identity. Drivers developed a distinct partnership with the machinery, learning to let the engine revolutions die down slowly and gently between gear changes, matching the deliberate pace of the engineering. To stand by a British highway in this era was to experience a machine with a rhythm entirely its own. The soft metallic idling beat and the faint puff of grey exhaust smoke became the unmistakable sound and smell of honest work. But the world of the winding A-road, with its restrictive 30 miles per hour limits, was rapidly disappearing. In its place came a new motorway network, the M1, the M6 and the M62. These flat, wide arterial routes demanded sustained, high-speed running, changing the very definition of adequate performance. On the punishing Pennine climbs between Sheffield and Manchester, a fully freighted 32-ton rig powered by the naturally aspirated 6LXB was exposed. While imported Scania and Volvo rigs, or trucks running with 290 horsepower Cummins engines, stormed past on the gradients, the Gardner was left behind, earning the frustrating driver nickname of the Patricroft Plodder. The engine remained as reliable as ever, but the world around it had grown faster. This technical mismatch soon became a severe operational crisis. A growing driver shortage in the 1970s gave crews unprecedented leverage, and they refused to pilot sluggish lorries when faster, warmer continental imports existed. Hauliers faced a painful contradiction. They still loved the Gardner's unrivaled fuel economy, but they could no longer find drivers willing to climb into the cab. During the 1970s, the global transport industry turned to turbocharging, extracting massive power increases from existing engine displacements. Gardner resisted, viewing the technology as an unnecessary strain on mechanical components. This stubborn independence, once the source of their prestige, began to isolate them. When the turbocharged 6LX-DT finally arrived in the summer of 1981, the market had already moved on. The company reportedly rejected an opportunity to purchase Rolls-Royce's commercial diesel division, doubling down on their solitary path. Meanwhile, their legendary 2-year customer waiting list transformed from a symbol of pride into a terminal business liability as fleet owners bought immediately available foreign trucks. The domestic builders that championed Gardner, ERF, Foden and Seddon Atkinson were losing their own market share, shrinking Gardner's traditional customer base. Even when Gardner released the 8-cylinder 8LXC in 1982, posting fuel economy curves that competitors envied, the technical achievement was irrelevant. The Patricroft engineers had crafted the finest power plant possible for a world that no longer existed. Today, in an era of planned obsolescence, the quiet rumble of a surviving Gardner reminds us of a forgotten philosophy. They built engines to outlast their makers, refusing to compromise for a disposable world. Gardner lost the market but won immortality. Subscribe for more untold history.